Uh, geez, everywhere. Like I used to. I mean, I carry a notebook with me, and I just keep my ear open. And for every 10 things that I write down, one of them might end up being worthy of doing every night on stage.
Okay.
So that's like a process. I just try to assume all of it could be turned into a joke, and then work through it, because I've had jokes that I've had for 2 or 3 years that someone will come along and punch up and say, "Oh, you should say this," and it makes the whole joke. And I've been doing it for 2 years one way, thinking it was a finished product. So I'm always listening. Every conversation, every text could potentially be a joke to me if you look at it hard enough.
Sure.
So is the key not to text you or talk to you so that we don't become part of your act?
Correct. And I did some internet dating, and I had a girl say, "Oh, so you're a comedian. Would you ever talk about something that happened between us on stage?" I'm like, yes, that is the point of this. God, I pray that something happens that I end up talking about on stage. So that means it's funny. I mean, and that was the deal breaker. Before we even dated, she found out that something that would happen between us that I could talk about on stage would end up, I don't know, somehow embarrassing her, even if it was truthful and funny.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, right?
That is weird.
That's what being a comedian is.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to talk about, though, as a comedian?
Oh man, my love of Goodwill stores and Salvation Armies. I mean, if you really want to break it down, I found out because of coronavirus, these are essential stores. I mean, where else can you get an aftermarket quesadilla machine right now during a pandemic? That was Goodwill's function.
Right.
But I think that they're brilliant to me. I collect a lot of stuff, but they're brilliant to me because they try to act like a regular department store. But I've never been to a regular department store that smells like my grandma's house inside. That dead people's clothes smell when you walk in. I miss that. I do.
Yeah.
And they have the video cameras like they're a real department store. Or they think someone's going to make off with all of the macrame owls. And one of those walkers with a toilet seat attached to the top. It's a high theft item. And the odd thing is they should have a video camera pointed at the video camera, because that's the most valuable thing in the whole place. Who's guarding your video camera? Yeah. They should just have 2 video cameras pointed at each other. I don't know. But I love talking about that and collecting, and I have this. It's interesting when you do comedy. People want you to be just truthful and honest. I think I find the best comedians to be people you can tell are just up there talking, and they're not doing an act. Even though you might be doing an act, if it's conversational, if it's really about your life and you believe it. So those kind of jokes I could do every night, because I really love the Salvation Army. I really love Goodwill. I think it's fascinating that, that stuff exists. Nobody's going to steal your crappy 8-track tape. I almost said shitty. I realized I could say shitty.
Because it is shitty.
I could have.
You really could have.
Yeah.
John, there's a message from somebody on the line here. They want to know if you can scat.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm a gifted scat artist.
Yeah?
Which is do you know the art of scatting, where like the old jazz bebop would go but I kind of developed a little bit of a popular scat song on to AC/DC's Back in Black, which really went viral. Let's say what it is. It really went viral. And I'll do a little bit of it per request.
Okay.
And this is the scat version of Back in Black. I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't even do this ever, but my fans, demand it.
At least one of them, yes.
Yeah.
This is AC/DC's Back in Black. Click, 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 click. Pa-doom, 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 pa-doom. Click. Dope beat. Your beatboxer knows that as KRS-One's dope beat. So, and it annoys the heck out of anyone sitting in the car with you on a long trip. Keeps people away from you at restaurants.
John, listen.
Airplanes.
Oh my God, John! I literally.
What? Did she have request a different song?
No. I literally just disconnected.
She's like, no more of that.
Yeah.
No, the funniest part was that you had Neil up there, like, yeah,
Neil was
like he wanted to join in with you.
Yeah. He knows that jam.
That is.
I want to
so
remind
awesome.
everybody though that John, you're here, and again, you get $100 from Dr. Barrett's, but you also have a PayPal account up there. If anybody would like to give you some money, you would appreciate that, so you could go to the thrift store. I would imagine.
I'll scat every song in the AC/DC catalog if you tip me $5.
There you
including the Bon Scott stuff, including the early work.
There you go.
Oh wow, you know it.
I love that. What was probably your your favorite, or what went over the best when you were on stage for Last Comic Standing? What did people seem to be most?
Oh man, if you're talking, let's see, that was 1943, year of our Lord. No, I don't remember that particular set because it was so weird. I was introduced, and they play an interview of you before you go on stage. So I was introduced after the interview, and the question that they asked me not only got a laugh, but the people applauded, and they said, John Evans. And I walked on stage, and the stage manager was telling me to go back. The producers were going crazy, and I'm like, what happened? And a stagehand came over and said they couldn't hear your name because the audience started clapping. So you were going to have to go back and do it again. This was the semifinals to get to the finals. Oh, and I turned around to walk back to where I came from, and some guy in the crowd yells out, "You're going the wrong way." And then another guy, there was like a pause, and another guy yelled, "Free bird." And I'm like, you're kidding me. This is the most important set I've ever done. And we have to go back and reintroduce me because the interview clip, the crowd loved, and they clapped at the end of it, which, as it turns out, was the only interview clip that the audience clapped after.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
A little history of why I might be so angry about the Last Comic Standing experience. I'm like, you can't fix that in post,
right?
Yeah.
Right. As they say in the industry, right?
As they say in the business.
In the biz. Yes.
In the biz.
That's so funny. John, I'm sure you can't wait to get out on the road again, right? I mean, what comic? What? I'm sure Neil, we're going to say the same thing to him, but.
Yeah. I can't. One thing I don't miss is the service dog phenomenon. Are we taking it too far with the service animals? Because seriously, has anyone thought about what about the animal? He's got to live with this guy 24 hours who's like, I get sad when it's cloudy outside. Is that fair? I wish one of these dogs would just say, I'm not feeling this trip to Tampa. You're going to wake me up at 3 a.m. to go get bagel bites, and I have to follow you into a grocery store on a whim. But here's the thing. I have this one, and you asked me about this earlier. I have one interesting thing about my road behavior, which I'm sure any psychiatrist would think is the most fascinating thing of all time. And that is my deep interest and passion for attractive women who work at fast food restaurants. Like if you put a kind of attractive girl in like a Hardee's uniform, that would drive me insane. And the reason the reason's even weirder, because I have this theory. People think they say a woman is beautiful, like Katy Perry is beautiful. I could go to a food court and find you 3 Katy Perrys tomorrow in any city. So my point is, when I go on the road and see these beautiful women working at like a McDonald's in the middle of Illinois, and I'm on my way to a gig, I want to pull them aside and say, look, I can take you away from all this. Quit right now, get in my car. I'm going to give you a better life. And it starts today. And then I get her to leave. But I don't think it through, because what would probably happen, she'd get to my car and see like, Arby's wrappers everywhere. Be like, this is gross. I'm not living like this. But I still, in my fantasy, they would come with me and we'd start a new life.
Wow.
You would be
so
the
it's all
hero.
fictitious.
Yeah.
I get it.
On my white horse, my Toyota Yaris. Get in my trusty steed. Tonight we ride.
I get it. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. Literally. Tonight
Literally. Yeah. Okay.
Oh
gotcha.
my God.
I sometimes I'm a little too literal, but
Yeah,
like, wow,
Rachel's
he
very
really
little.
wants
We
to
go to
take people.
comedy shows and she just like, yep, no, that's not correct. I know it's
No.
because it's a joke. It's a joke.
No, I
but-
get it. I get it. You're funny.
Oh my God. John, what's funny is,
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you what's happening right now is the show is on a delay into Rachel's husband's ears, and he's literally cracking up right now and making me laugh. So.
I love it. I love it. I've done my job.
Listen, before we actually bring on, NaPoM, I think we need to get them to scat together.
Oh, I don't know. The timing won't work out. The
It
internet timing.
won't.
Yeah. the
Oh
timing
yeah,
won't
because
work.
last week I was singing My Girl and I was off key and my son told me.
We'll exchange emails and we'll collaborate. And
I love
get
it.
back
That's
to
what
you.
you have
Have a
to,
little,
okay.
a YaJagoff scat video would
Right?
be awesome. Yeah.
AC/DC meets Eminem or something like that. I love it. So tell everybody, where can they find you on Facebook? You're a Facebook guy, right, John?
I'm a Facebook guy, although it's tough sometimes. But thrift store guy at Twitter, thrift store guy, thrift
Fancy
store
that.
guy,
Yeah.
which is also my PayPal.
Yeah.
At least we'd forget. Now,
Yeah.
a good thing that happened right before this pandemic went down is I taped a what do you call it? A dry bar comedy special.
Oh, really?
yeah.
That will be coming out. I think this coronavirus thing has affected this, but I
Okay.
taped it just under the wire. So I don't know if their editors are working on it as we speak. Probably spending hundreds of hours on my
I'm sure.
No doubt.
Yeah.
dry bar
question.
editing.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to edit in some laughs. Am I right? No,
Listen, though, and
I'm
I
really
know-
pleased with it, and
Well,
that'll
that's
be
awesome.
out probably very soon.
Oh, that,
Awesome.
well,
Well,
yeah.
Dry bar, it's an
probably not.
app.
How?
You
Yeah.
watch, it's a dry bar app.
Yeah.
It's clean comedy. You have to be squeaky clean.
Well, you have to tell us when it
Squeaky.
comes out so that we can share it. You right?
I would
So,
for sure do
yeah.
that. It's like a
Yeah.
25, 30-minute thing.
oh, that's awesome, John Evans. So awesome to have you on the pod. Our
It's not
Oh,
the
and my
pod,
website too. John Evans Comedian.
Okay, there you go.
Before you say goodbye to him, though, what is the biggest difference between a thrift store and what is he calling it? Like a Goodwill.
A vintage?
Vintage. Yes. Is there a difference?
Oh yeah, there is. You can find vintage items in a Goodwill store,
Uh-huh.
right? But
Yeah.
a vintage store will only have collectible, high-end 1950s, 60s, 70s, depending on what they want to call it. I also am part of a vintage store called Funky Junk Vintage in Brentwood.
Okay.
Are you
It's
serious?
Yeah. It's been open it hasn't been open recently, but it's been open for about 6 months. 50s, 60s, 70s furniture, records, lamps,
My dad's gonna
collectibles,
We need to
lunch
get you to make.
boxes.
We need to get you to
That's
make a visit to Rachel's dad's place. The
Ginchy stuff.
Ginchy stuff down in Manchester. It's all 70s. It's records. It's action figures.
No kidding.
You can throw your ashes there when you die. You're gonna want it. It's lovely. And he has a music museum because I don't know if you know Johnny Angel from Johnny Angel and the Halos.
Yeah.
That's him. That's her dad.
Oh, no
And so
way.
you have to go. We have to get you down
I've
to the
met
museum.
him. He's a wonderful man. He was. I met him doing a show at Atrius.
How about that? There you go. You're not lying.
Yeah.
There you go.
Am I not supposed to plug Atrius? They don't need our money.
They don't
Do they have
Right.
carry out?
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. You could totally plug
John,
them.
are you gonna hang out with us? Or are
Yes,
you gonna
for
head out?
sure. I'd love
All right,
to.
awesome, cool. Well, all right. So, Mike Sorg, first of all, thank you, John Evans. We really appreciate you doing this. But we'll say
Super
goodbye to
funny.
you if you're
You
on. stage.
definitely
it was
led.
my treat.
No, you lived up to what John said. So
Yeah,
we
you
appreciate
make
it
me
very
laugh.
much.
You
Thank
make
you
me
so
laugh.
much.
So now we have to remind everybody that Dr. Mark Barrett's, who does the Double Play Project, which is Double Play because he gives money to restaurants who then make food and give food to the hungry people. And it's actually now Triple Play because he has added giving these artists tonight $100 as well as Mike Sorg $100. So we really appreciate what he's doing. Dr. Mark Barrett's hand and arm surgeon down there in Washington County for UPMC.
He's a good
But
dude, for sure.
really, really good dude. Not asking you to do anything other than what he's done himself, which he's given a lot of money himself to this project. So that said, Mike Sorg, give another wave from the Sorgatron Media Studios over there.
Or just like poke your hand up or something. Because
People are there you go.
There you go.
Mike and
I
Mrs.
hide the
do a
camera, even though it's not the one you guys see. So you guys don't see me in the corner
Oh, we see.
fumbling
Okay.
with things. So, but
You're like, I have to deal with these stupid people. I'll fix it for them.
He's used to fixing us. He's so used to it.
So Rach, come on, you have to do the introduction here
Listen,
because this is your gift.
This is, I know, like I felt like the coolest. Listen, I have a lot of cool mom moments that aren't ever, but I came home from the Three Rivers Arts Festival. And I, of course, know Mike Y from years ago. And he organized this whole, and I don't want to say it's just beatboxing, but it's, what was the term? Like non-music, it's making music with your mouth kind of thing, where no instruments are used. And we found it interesting, right? We'll say that. It was interesting.
Right.
And a lot of the people it was cool to see what they were able to do.
It was really fascinating.
It was fascinating. And then he came on.
Yeah.
And we were like two old people standing on the stage, like, wow. And then we went over and got a video with him. And he literally was able to teach us, like, emulate how this works.
And we were like, will you please talk to us?
Yeah, he
He's
was
like,
like,
"What's
fine,
wrong
I'm
with
from
you two?"
here. He's like, I'm from Pittsburgh, weirdos. And that was the coolest part. Sort of. You're Greensburg, but we let you be a Pittsburgher for now. So we had this, this crazy idea that, we have all these musicians coming on who are doing, like we said, singing and acoustic and things like that. But how cool would it be to throw this in the mix? And so John said I was allowed, and we invited you.
Oh, so Neil, formerly from Greensburg, now Jersey City, New York, and travels all over. This is not kidding, all over the world doing beatboxing. Welcome to YaJagoff Live.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's just so, like you said, it's fascinating. But before you go into anything, Neil, tell them, we were asking you, do you really travel and what are you doing? Where were you before the pandemic? You have to tell them.
Yeah, so this pandemic definitely messed up a bunch of my plans. I was in Germany right before they announced that the borders were closing. Like I got there the day before, and I was planning on being in Europe for about a month and a half to 2 months, just performing at beatbox battles, battling, teaching, and doing a bunch of different stuff. And then the day after I got there, they canceled everything. So that was definitely a little stressful. I got a flight right back to Jersey City, but now I've just been home. I'm teaching a lot of beatboxers online, trying to make a living doing that. And
How
so
cool is
all
that?
of
I mean,
these
that
people-
is a real thing, right? People really want to know how to do it.
Yeah, it's a worldwide thing. It doesn't matter what language you speak, where you're from. Like if you know rhythm and you know noise, like you're able to teach anybody, or anybody can do it.
That is so cool. But what made you want to start doing it? Was there somebody you saw? I can't remember the story because we asked you this.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, it was YouTube. Saw it on YouTube, and that was it.
But what, I guess, what's the, you talked us through the very beginning of Boots and Cats, but do you just start sort of playing around with noises coming out of your mouth to get this started and you go, wow, I know what that sounds like. Is that what it does? And then you learn, so is it like learning to play the guitar where you learn some basic chords and then you figure it out yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I compare it to learning a language because you're
Okay.
actually saying it. You're saying something. So just like there's a culture for Chinese, there's a culture for beatboxing.
Exactly.
So if you want to
Yeah.
learn beatboxing, you got to kind of surround yourself with beatboxers. The same way that if you wanted to learn Chinese, you got to surround yourself with Chinese people. If you really want to, learn
Point
the lingo,
taken. Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
the small details. So I
Okay.
just went to a
love
lot
it.
of different events, met a lot of different beatboxers because it's been around and people have been performing for a long time, just kind of under the radar. But
Yeah.
How many people are actually good at it versus the people that come up? John Evans, I'm sure he gets people say, "Hey, I have a joke you can use," right? But I'm sure there are people come up like there we go, "Hey, Neil, go," and you go, "Please
Wow.
go have a
I
seat."
knew you were gonna have to do it.
I mean, there's not a lot of good beatboxers located in one place usually. Like there's a good bit in New York, but around the world, there's some crazy people that would blow your mind.
Yeah.
Millions
Yeah.
millions of kids. A lot of young kids too. It's mainly like
Okay.
12 to 21, like the main people that are beatboxers.
Okay.
And they're
Okay.
not like your average hip hop beatboxer. They're doing the craziest stuff that you would imagine, like super technical sounds. Crazy stuff like that. It's
Wow.
So what's the
So you're
best
like John and Rachel. Don't try this at home.
Yeah.
Like you're so
you
far
might
outside the
bite your
ages.
tongue. Yeah. So what's the best at this point? Do you want us to let you roll a little bit, and then when you break, we'll come in and back and talk to you? Is that what you want to do?
Heck yeah.
All right, we'll put ourselves
ready.
on mute, and I won't hang up this time.
And gentlemen, all you jagoffs in the world, yins ain't ready for this.
Everything you're about to hear is all from the mouth. I got no effects on this microphone. Just me, my voice, and a good time.
Let it flow, let it flow.
Just slow it down.
Creepy on the creepy on the beef. Switch, Sade, so baby, I got your money. So baby, Sade, so baby, Hey, 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 I'm back in black. I said I'm back in black. Switch. Hey. Yo. Yeah. Yo, I heard you like that trap music, that trap music. Heard you like that trap music, that trap music. Heard you like that trap music, that trap music. Heard you like that, heard you like that. Human DJ. Turn it up. it out. Stay cool, stay cool, stay cool and breathe. Let's go. Human, DJ, on the dance floor, 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 on the dance floor. Come on, everybody, watch up for home. On the dance floor, on the dance floor. Make a dance floor in your living room like this. No matter where you're watching from, right now, in the kitchen, in your room, in your living room, in your bathroom. Turn it into the dance floor. Let's go, people. Don't stop, bass electro. Don't stop with the bass electro. Don't stop, bass electro. Never stop with the bass electro. Don't stop, bass electro. Never stop with the bass electro. Don't stop, bass electro. Get it down low, get it down low. Get it down low. Hey,
Oh my
There we
God.
go.
Listen,
John Evans, what do you think of that? Was that
he
crazy?
had to stop and go get his Gatorade.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
He even did some ACDC.
Right?
You
I
guys
mean,
catch
how
that?
cool is that? Was awesome.
There was a few sounds he made that I was wondering if he could walk you through it, but I think it's probably like a magician where you don't tell your trade secrets.
No, it's like a good magician. I could tell you exactly how you do it, but you still can't do it.
It's
That was
classic.
good. That was really good.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It's like the Steelers. We're going to tell you we're going to run the ball, but you cannot figure out how to fix it. Right? Yeah.
Oh my
so,
God.
So
Neil.
let's go ahead and Neil, just give us a couple of basic things. I know we did the boots and cats thing. Just take a minute or two and walk John through that, maybe.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a crazy beat, and I'm gonna break down exactly what it is. This is one of my well-known beats. So, quite simply, all I'm saying there is chigga booga aga booga. That is what that beat is. Chigga booga aga booga, chigga booga aga booga, chigga booga aga booga, chigga booga aga booga. If you can remember that saying, and you can learn beatboxing and you can learn this beat. So the way this translates is you take out the I, a, u, a, and you just want to do, you don't want to do any of the vowels. You just want to do the consonants. And then it's, well, you still do the I guess. You still do the one.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Only vowel.
That
And
is
you can
crazy.
So cool.
use these sounds as percussive sounds. You have your the CH is like a shaker. The K, the outward K,
True.
is kind of like a rim shot. Like if you take the what is it called? The drumstick and just hit it on the side of the drum rather than hit the drum itself. You have that. Chicka boo. The B is the kick drum. Chicka boo. And pretty much all your basic drum sounds right there. And then a
You
couple
good
other
now, John? You gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm writing this down.
Yeah, I see that.
the PF in there. It's pretty much like you'd go P and F. And it sounds like a snare. And I'm going, but I practice
so
it a lot.
cool.
Amazing. It's amazing.
What is
I
it
have a
like? And I
question.
don't think oh, go ahead. You can go first.
Well, the really low one, sounds like some like early 2 Live Crew or something. How do you do that?
That sound is called a lip roll. So what I'm doing in this sound is I'm rolling my lips inward. I don't even breathe whenever I do that sound. It's just pressure in my mouth. So step 1 is doing this. You got to go. Everybody can do that sound, right? Right in the middle. Everybody does that. So you got to learn to do that sound on the one side of your mouth. You got to pick a side of your mouth. I do it on the left side. You could do whichever side you want. So I do that sound on just the left side. And then from there, I just make it really long rather than one. I extend it, make it as long as I can. So it goes from.
It's amazing.
Sounds like Herbie Hancock Headhunters.
Yeah, right.
That's so cool.
That's
The question I had
amazing.
before you do another riff, we'll call it, right? I don't know if it's a song, but when you do these competitions, what is that like? You know, it sounds so hokey, but how are you competing and knowing, like, what's that knowledge like? That person's going to do this basic thing, so I'm going to throw in this. What is the competition level like, that how you can kind of gauge that you're the better one?
Yeah, it's a mixture. Like once certain beatboxers get to a certain level, like you really can't tell apart skill wise. Like of course, like there's certain techniques and combos that beatboxers are gonna like go crazy over because nobody else can do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beauty of beatboxing too. Every person has their own voice, so every person has their own like unique sounds and unique
Okay.
combos. At these competitions, it's really just like a battle of energy and a battle of like stage performance and how musicality, how you put songs together and how you actually make the crowd react. And it can all depend too. Some beatbox battles are like the movie 8 Mile, where every get the crowd super involved. Other beatbox battles are hilarious and people do like whole skits. It all depends what the people come up with, but
Okay.
yeah. They're all
so
pretty good-hearted. A lot of beatboxers, they get along really well, and it's not really like a hateful community. Like the battle is kind of an excuse for a lot of beatboxers just to have a place to beatbox together, because it's not really like a really big known thing anyways. So people aren't getting booked for huge festivals and stuff super often. So we're mainly doing beatbox battles.
We're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make it a thing.
Quick question before we have you do one more. Do your lips and tongue ever get cramps?
Yes.
Okay.
Not really my lips and tongue. Well, I guess it's like the way back of my tongue. I get crazy cramps down here sometimes, like in my jaw area. But that's it.
John Evans, you have a question, John?
Well, no, I was thinking to myself, who is on the Mount Rushmore of beatboxers?
Oh, good question, John.
Well, a lot of the people that like started beatboxing were around in the 80s whenever like hip hop started. It was beatboxing is considered the fifth element of hip hop. You have MCs, DJs, graffiti artists, break dancers, and then beatboxers.
Okay.
So these were guys like Rozelle, Kenny Muhammad, Dougie Fresh, which are a couple of them are household names. Like Dougie Fresh is kind of a household name. People don't know what he does or who he is, but you know, he's actually one of the first beatboxers in the world.
That's amazing.
And,
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Well,
I could listen forever.
Let's do it. Let's do something else. Let's see. Reminding everybody that your Venmo, PayPal, whatever is underneath your name there. We can't see it, but I know it's there because Sorg is that good. And if people want to pay, to see more, hear more, they could do that. Also, we'll have a website up for you. But in the meantime, let's hear some more. We'll shut up.
Thank you guys so much. Not for shutting up, just for having me.
Okay, it's all right, it's all day, it's all night, it's okay, it's all right, it's okay, it's all right. Wait till I get my money right. Wait till I get my money right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's all right, it's all right, it's all night. Let me tell you something about my life. Tell you something about my life. Tell you something about my life. I'm a cold-blooded killer. Trippy. Listen. I'm sneaky with the squeaky. I'm the Monkey King. Monkey King. 2 mouths. 2 mouths. Check it. got one more, and I'm gonna speed it up for you. YaJagoff. I am the drum and bass father. Break it down. Break it down. Break it down.
Thank you guys.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
that is so amazing. I forgot.
Oh.
Listen, I'm not making fun, but do you remember it was so hot when we were, I mean, it was like what, beginning of June, and you were sweating because you were on stage. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, that's the kind of performance. What, 45 minutes? And it's just like
Yeah.
dripping sweat from that kind of performance because you're putting your all in.
Yeah.
And you can tell right now that I mean, I don't see the sweat right now, but
Definitely
I believe
sweating
it's
right now.
happening.
Hey,
That
for
is
a
awesome.
second, for a second there, I thought he was going to go into Hocus Pocus by Focus.
Yeah.
Yo, 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 yo. He did a little bit of the Popeye scat part.
It goes there sometimes.
It was awesome. That was so amazing.
my God.
Very nice.
I don't know how
Oh.
it goes there, but it does.
It is so cool. And I love the little JaGoff in there every once in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. We appreciate that. Yeah.
You guys, this was
Uh,
awesome. It was exactly what we hoped for. We can't thank you enough. It was a pleasure having you both on. One more time, NaPoM, let everybody know your Venmo and where they can find you so they can continue to watch you and we grow this culture.
If you want to check me out, pretty much anywhere, NaPoM, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. If you type in NaPoM, you can find me. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, all of those streaming services. If you want to check out my crew, I'm part of a crew called the Beatbox House. We make a lot of beatboxing together rather than one person. We're 5 guys and we're all super cool.
I love it.
Check us out one day. Maybe we can all perform for you guys. Who knows?
That
and
would be awesome.
I know I think it's posted in the comments. If not, it's at Neil Neil dash Meadows Meadows. But yeah. Just keep rocking, guys.
Look you up.
Well,
You're
like,
awesome.
yeah. John Evans, show us what's on the clock there. That Starburst clock behind you there on your over your right shoulder.
I can give you some last minute.
You just run into the wall.
Yeah, some last minute. Look at these sad guys.
Oh
Ah.
man.
Oh. Oh,
Tragic.
my.
I'm just trying to get some good light for this big outro.
Yeah.
Right.
And so remind everybody where they follow you, John, and where they just listen to
Thrift
some
store.
of your even on the
Everything. Thrift store guy. Everything.
Yes.
Thrift store guy Twitter, thrift store guy at Hotmail for PayPal situations. John
just to
Evans,
email you.
comedian.com. Yeah.
All right. We love it. And again, both of you guys can't thank you enough. Pittsburgh has been loving, figuring out what everybody's doing here, and we've been glad to be a part of it. And thank you again to Dr. Mark Barretts. Remember to look up Dr. Mark Barretts on Facebook. Look up his double play, because if you'd like to give him a few bucks, he would appreciate that. So he could, again, he double plays it into, he buys meals from certain restaurants, and then those meals go to hungry people here in Pittsburgh area. So it's totally awesome.
And an extra shout out, thank you to everyone who donated for my birthday fundraiser, because we were able to actually give $1,000 to Casa San Jose. So thank you so
You had
much.
a birthday?
I did. I was 44.
How about that? So
I'm
John
just trying
Evans,
to get used to saying that.
NaPoM, NaPoM. Thank you guys
Follow.
so much. Make
Follow
sure you
them.
follow those
You
guys.
guys are awesome.
When you guys are in Pittsburgh and we do podcasts again, we're all doing them by phone now, but when we do them live again in places, we want to have you both on.
Yeah, we'll find a place. We'll figure it out.
Mike Sorg, what's the
Yeah.
podcast that you be? Give us a podcast shout out. Your new parents podcast? You wanna do
Yes,
that one?
Listen to Your Parents is the new coping with quarantine and what's going on right now podcast by actually former KDKA guy over there. Matt Carlins has been running that show, and it's been fun. This past week, they taught you how to make martinis and how to play Jackbox games over Zoom calls, so you can have the perfect quarantine party with your friends no matter where they are, and family or whatever the case. So those are over there. I'll look up Listen to Your Parents on Facebook, Instagram, podcast, part of sorgatronmedia.com.
Nice. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back for one more next Wednesday. Do you want to say who the musician is?
Nope. We'll announce it later this week.
All right. See
Thanks,
you guys.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.